All right. So anyway, actually, this is a good opportunity to remind everybody to make sure you have pen and pencil and some paper ready, because this is an interactive lifestyle change masterclass. This is about making sure that you're actually walking away today with an action plan that you have, that you can from today, that you can put into practice immediately. And what's nice about this is that everybody's action plan is going to be slightly different, and that's okay. That's the whole point of it, is individual differences. There isn't really that works for every single person. It's definitely about finding is going to work for you long term. All right, so make sure you have a pen and pencil and some paper and notebook handy. I'm literally going to pause one more time to let people in, and then at that point, that's all she wrote, because I got to get this going. Okay. And I'm just going through and muting people so that we don't have background. Okay. Oh, there's a mute all button. Look at that. Okay, there we go. We learn everything new. All right, so we're going to get started now, because I just need to get rolling. All right, so what are we going to talk about today, guys? What we're going to talk about is how to start making major lifestyle changes. And that's kind of why we're all here. So it's not just about starting to make those changes, but also how do you keep it going long term so that you can always continue to make progress. And the third part of this is how to act on these things today. We're going to go step by step. We'll create your plan, have pen and paper at the ready, as I mentioned, because we are going to be walking through this together. And I know it sounds kind of lame, like, oh, she really, pen and paper. No, yeah, you're here to make some lasting changes. So we're actually going to take it really seriously, and we're going to write everything down. I've got exercises for you as we go through the seminar today. All right, so who am I? I'm Amanda Gonzalez-Barone. I'm owner of Girl Fight Fitness. I'm certified in all these certifications. As you can see, I'm a self-defense instructor. I finished an Ironman triathlon, and I regularly work with hundreds of women trying to achieve long-term health and fitness. Now, the other reason why you're probably tuning in isn't just because of my background, but I had some ups and downs too. I mean, over the course of the pandemic, put on a lot of weight. And I did that because I was, depressed, and I was not taking care of myself. I was scrambling to keep my business afloat. And because of that, I ended up gaining some weight. And there's me back in this past September. And this is not photoshopped. There are no filters on any of these. This is real stuff. And this is me this past month, 60 pounds later, actually closer to 65 now, because I continue to make progress, which is really awesome. I mean, it's hard work, but it's something where after you have, you go through the seminar today, you're going to understand why this works, how to do it yourself, how to replicate this. And you're also going to find it's not about this 60-pound number. It is about how you feel. It is about getting into a healthy place. It's not just the number on the scale that matters. And more importantly, it's about how you feel, what you can do with your body, how you're taking care of yourself, and your attitude that carries you forward into each and every day. So first, before we get into anything, we're going to talk about the legal stuff right now. Today's discussion includes what works for most people I encounter. There's always individual differences. You should always consult a physician before starting any exercise or diet program to make sure it is safe for you. The results are not guaranteed or similar for everyone, and everything will not work for everyone. But, like I said, part of what we're going to talk about today is really trying to find something that's going to make this work for you so that you can customize it for your needs. All right, so let's talk about how to start the journey. And these two photos really kind of mean a lot to me, because the one on the left is actually where I was when I started my first weight loss journey in the first place, when I started to take care of my health and my fitness, when I realized enough was enough and I needed to make a lifestyle change. And then the second photo is when I got to that point much later in life, and I got there again. So for major changes, otherwise you wouldn't be here right now, So let's do this. Let's talk about how do we make major changes that are going to last long term. So the first step is goal setting. So this is how you actually define where you want to go. And I know it seems very basic and very obvious to go over this, but there's a right way to do this and a wrong way to do this. The first thing you need to do is you need to identify your why. Why are you setting this goal? And it's super important to do this because you need to make sure this is something that you're going to do for the right reasons. If you're doing it for someone else, if you're doing it for a really superficial reason, it's not going to be something you're going to stick with long term. I mean, think about, fitness. Sometimes if the only time you can get up and work out is 5:30 in the morning, you're going to need something really deep and really meaningful to dig you out of your nice warm bed and get to the gym and do your workout. So you really need to go deep with this. Identify your why. So why are you setting this goal? And you, like I said, you need to make sure you are doing this for yourself, because again, your own voice is going to be what motivates you through this. Your own voice is going to talk you in or out of things. You need to make sure you're doing this for you. And as we identify these goals, we're going to talk about SMART goals, and that's an acronym. So I want to just use an example here as we go through what SMART goals are. So the old goal is, I want to lose weight. And all of you have probably, said that or heard that before. I'm missing a parentheses I just caught. But anyway, so SMART stands for specific, S. I'm going to lose 10 pounds of fat. So you want to be specific with these goals. So you notice how much more specific that goal is compared to I want to lose weight. How much weight are we talking about? Are we talking about 5 pounds or are we talking about 50 pounds? There's a dramatic difference in the approach that you take based on the answer to that question. So let's be specific with this. And also notice that the first one we're talking about weight, the second one we're talking about body fat. And to be honest, when I talk to most people about losing weight, they really mean body fat. I very rarely talk to someone who says, I want to lose muscle. It's usually body fat. So let's be very specific with that. I want to lose 10 pounds of body fat. The next thing is measurable. You need to find some metric to measure your goal with. Otherwise, how do you know if you're making progress? So I'm going to weigh myself every week. That's a measurable goal. That's how you're going to measure it. I definitely don't recommend weighing yourself more frequently than every week. That's kind of where we get into problems with little tiny fluctuations from day to day. You want to make sure this goal is achievable. Are you physically able to lose 10 pounds? That's, something where if you are really close to your body's, what's it called? Homeostasis, that comfortable weight where it needs to be, it might be very difficult or maybe even unhealthy for you to lose 10 pounds. If you're somebody who's already close to your goal and you say, I want to lose 50 pounds, that's definitely unhealthy for you to lose 50 pounds. So you have to make sure it's actually achievable, that you actually can do it in a healthy way. You have to make sure it's relevant. You have to make sure your goal is leaning towards something that makes sense. So like losing 10 pounds will make me healthier. That's really kind of what I want to do. I want to do this because it's relevant to my health and my fitness, and losing 10 pounds is going to get me there. That's kind of why I'm picking 10 pounds, because that's the healthy weight that I want to be. It's relevant to me getting into a healthier place. And then the time-based element. We want to set a time frame on this, because anything else is just ambiguous. I mean, who is going to keep you accountable to doing this in a period of time? You could say, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Well, is that over 3 years? Is that over 3 months? Is that over 3 weeks? The approach to do it in those ways is going to vary very differently. If you're going to lose 10 pounds in 3 years, the changes you're going to have to make are going to be much more subtle than if you're doing aggressive weight loss for like a bikini slim down or something. So set your goal. I want to hit my goal in 45 days. It doesn't necessarily mean you can't take longer or it can't happen shorter, but it's definitely something where you want to set that time goal so that you have that, at the ready. So let's pause here. This is where you get out your notebook and your pencil, and I'm going to pause and I'm going to go step by step. And we're actually going to write out some goals. I want you to think about your big goal. I want you to write it down or think deeply about it if you haven't gotten a pen or a piece of paper or anything like that. Just think about what your big goal is. Write that down. Now I want you to make it specific. So you can either write under it or add on to it. I want you to think about the specificity of it. How much weight do you want to lose? It doesn't necessarily have to be losing pounds either. It can be I want to work out 3 days a week, or I want to eat healthier, or I want to eat vegetables with every meal, or something, make that specific. Whatever your goal is, make that very specific. How are you going to measure that goal? What is your metrics to determine if you're successful or not? So write that down as well. I'll give you guys a minute or two to catch up with that. Okay, then is it realistically achievable to achieve that goal? I mean, is this something that is realistic for you? Like like I said, if you are very close to your goal weight and you say, I want to lose 50 pounds, that might not be achievable. It might not be healthy to achieve that. So think about, is this realistic? Is it relevant to the big picture? How? What is getting to this goal going to do for you? Is this going to make you healthier? Is it going to give you more energy? Is it going to bring your cholesterol down? All of these things are very important. And then finally, what is your time frame? And you want to make sure this is both achievable and reasonable. Setting 2 days to lose 20 pounds isn't really a realistic time frame. So that's something that people sometimes overlook when they're setting their time frames, is you don't want to set yourself up for failure right off the bat. You want to make sure that you're setting a time frame that will work and is realistic based on the amount of work you want to put in. And then there's time frames that are just unrealistic, like I said, like losing 10 pounds in 2 days. All right, so now that we have your very specific SMART goal, let's understand what I call some fitness truth bombs. And these are things that people either don't realize, or it really kind of turns what they know on its head. Or sometimes it's truths that we want to pretend aren't truths because we don't like them. But honestly, if you know them, it's going to be much easier to get to your goals. So let's talk about the difference between weight loss and fat loss. Muscle weighs more than fat for the same physical volume. So I know that, it's later in the night. You might be like, what did she just say? Basically what I mean by that is, if you picture a baseball, and then you picture a Nerf ball of the same size. The Nerf ball is going to be much lighter. That's your fat, but it takes up the same amount of space as the baseball, which is much heavier. So following that line of thought, you could have, a muscle on your body that is dense and heavier, and it can skew your overall weight because you look at it, you think it's all fat, but it's not. So you could have somebody who loses 10 pounds of fat, but gains 5 pounds of muscle. And the number on the scale is only going to tell them they lost 5 pounds, but their pictures and how their body looks are going to be dramatically different, because muscle is good. Muscle is your secret weapon as you age, women. It is. It's how you counteract the things that metabolism does, that aging does to us, where it slows down our ability to lose fat. It slows down our ability to build healthy muscle. It does slow down our ability to build healthy muscle, but it basically slows down our ability to burn calories. And as we hit premenopause, during menopause, that's something where we get even more, kind of a kick in the gut when it turns to trying to lose that stubborn weight. So muscle is going to rev up your metabolism. It's going to, even when you're at rest, the more muscle you have on your body is going to burn more calories than if you didn't have that muscle. And muscle gives you shape. It gives your body that nice toned shape. I bet you've seen people who look like they're loose, like they've lost weight, but they have skin hanging. The muscle is going to help take up that space, give you that nice shapely look. It's going to make you feel strong. I mean, there's nothing better than being able to pick up a case of water at the store by yourself and bring it to your car by yourself. And, when somebody asks you if you need help, you're like, yeah, I'm good. I got it. And, it makes you feel strong and confident, like you can handle yourself. The other thing that I want you to know is that this process is slow. You didn't gain 10 pounds from one bad meal, and you're not going to lose 10 pounds from one workout. So I want you to pause here, and I want you to think about how long it took you to get to the place you're in right now, where you don't have, or you're not at where you want to be. You're not at your goals. I want you to think deeply about how long it took you. Did it take you a few years? Did it take you since you had your children? Did it take you 6 months? You know, think about that, and then think about, you know, how it might be really unrealistic to expect that within 3 weeks you're going to lose the weight that it took you 10 years to gain. So the sooner you accept that the process is slow, the sooner you're going to be able to accept the timeline involved to reverse things. The other thing you have to remember is nutrition is the most important thing. And it really surprises me, even to this day, being in the fitness field for over a decade, where I will witness somebody annihilate themselves in a workout, burpees, jump squats, you name it. And then they go home and they eat half a pizza and they totally undo everything that they did. So nutrition is the most important thing. If you work out, you're going to get stronger. You're going to improve your cardio. There's so much benefit to working out. I'm not trying to negate the importance of doing that. But when you're talking about making the scale move, when you're talking about losing fat, you need to make sure your nutrition is on point. I'm not talking about temporary diets. I'm not talking about starving yourself. You need to make sure your nutrition is in alignment with your goals. Otherwise, you're not going to see that scale move. And I tell that to everybody who gets started at Girl Fight, is when they ask me, am I going to get the results that I want? And I said, yes, if you fix your nutrition. I said, I'll guarantee you, you will get stronger. You'll feel awesome. You'll get stress out if you come to our workouts, but we need to work on the diet as well. Otherwise, you're not going to see the scale move. And that's just simple physiology. The other thing that I want to make really clear to people is that there's no such thing as spot reduction, where when I talk about spot reduction, I'm talking about picking a spot on the body that is going to, you know, magically lose weight. Like people say, I just want to lose some fat in my thighs, or I just want to tone my stomach. And you can't just pick one part of the body and say, I am going to lose fat right here. I want you to think of fat storage in your body like a lake. And a lake has deep areas and shallow areas. And when we think about that being fat in our body, the deep areas are the areas in your body where you tend to store more fat. For some women, it might be their thighs. For some women, it might be their abdomen, their butt. It just, you know, under the arms, it just differs from woman to woman. So you need to, you know, think about those areas that are your trouble spots are your deep areas. Those are the deep areas of your lake. When you're draining a lake, you can't just stick a hose into one part of the lake, the deep end, and drain the deep end alone and say, I'm going to leave the shallow end all by itself. I don't need to change the shallow end. I am going to drain the deep area only. It's impossible. You have to drain the lake by tapping into the lake in aggregate, and then draining the shallow areas will be the first to go, and the deep areas will be the last to go. And a typical example you find with this is that you'll see, you know, you'll start a workout program and a diet program, and you'll be getting results, but they're not the results that you want. So for example, your face thins out. You start to see some definition in your shoulders, but you're fixated on your lower stomach. You're fixated on that one spot that doesn't seem to be losing anything, even though there's loss happening everywhere else. And what happens is a lot of women give up at that point because they think what they're doing isn't working the way they want it to work. But what really needs to happen in reality is that you need to hold on a little longer. You need more patience because you have not yet gotten your body fat down low enough to start tapping into those deep areas. So that's how I want you to think about fat loss. I don't want you to think about it as toning up specific parts of the body because that's physically impossible. I want you to think about it as losing fat as a whole across your body and being patient with the process. All right, so the next step is you need to find a program, a gym, or an activity that's going to work for you. And you need to find something you will stick with. When people ask me, what is the best workout to do? My answer is always the thing that you're going to stick with long-term, because this has to be a lifestyle change. It has to be something you're going to stick with. And if you aren't sure, try lots of different things. There's no one thing that works for everyone. That's why there's like 3,000 different workout types out there. There's kickboxing, there's yoga, there's Pilates, there's, you know, weightlifting. There's workouts that aren't typical workouts like hiking or ice skating, rock climbing, walking. Just walking is a great activity to get you moving. there's not one thing that works for everyone. That's why there's so many options out there. You need to find what works for you. The other thing too is I want you to discover your fitness personality. Are you the person who likes to get to the gym and get down to business? Are you the person who likes to pick exercises like Zumba or even kickboxing that kind of don't feel like exercise? Are you the type of person who hates exercise and would rather just walk the dog a lot? You know, those are the type of things you need to consider. A good starting point for any program is 2 to 3 days per week. It doesn't have to be the same activity each time. It can be something different each time, but get your body moving 2 to 3 days a week to start. You can certainly do more than that, but usually in the beginning, that's a great starting point where you're giving your body enough stimulus to change, but not so much that you're going to burn yourself out. The other thing you can do is search for free trials or offers. You can contact gyms. You can use coupons. You can go to Google or Yelp, go to Groupon, Facebook and social media, or even just call a place that you're interested in, whether it's a gym or an athletic facility or a personal training studio. Just call them and say, hey, I'm thinking about joining. Do you have any specials or deals or offers to get the ball rolling? And then these are the questions that I get. What's the best type of workout? And I kind of touched on this earlier. I jumped the gun a little bit, but I get asked, what is the best type of workout? And the answer is anything you're going to stick with. And then the other question I get is, what is the best time to work out? And as you can probably guess, I'm going to say any time that you'll do it. There, people go into writing articles about the best time of day to work out, where you're going to burn the most body fat. And anybody who works out at, like I could say hypothetically, the best time to work out is 6 o'clock in the morning. What happens if you can't work out 6 o'clock in the morning? Then you're going to talk yourself out of it. The person who works out consistently at 5 p.m. is going to knock the socks progress-wise off of anyone who works out sporadically at 6 in the morning, if we say that's the hypothetical best time to work out. Consistency is the key. And that's why the best type of workout is the thing that you'll stick with. And the best time to work out is any time that you'll do it. Keep it simple. So let's pause here and brainstorm. So get your pen and paper ready, get your notebook ready. I want you to write down or think deeply about it if you don't have any kind of writing tools with you. 5 different things you can do to get moving. And I'm going to give you a theme for each of the 5 things as we go. So the first thing I want you to think about, I want you to write down one thing that is physically easy to do. So I'm going to pause here and let you think about it. Walking, riding a bike, something that is not, it doesn't involve like a lot. It's not like doing burpee jump squats off the walls or anything like that. I want you to think of something that's generally pretty easy to do. Could be, mowing the lawn or shoveling snow or, I wouldn't say that's easy, but like, I want you to think about something that you can just do to get your body moving. One thing that's accessible for you. So the next thing I want you of the 5 things, the next thing I want you to write down is something that you have access to now. You don't have to go start a gym membership. You don't have to go buy something. I want you to think about something where it is free or either free or no additional cost for you to do. Maybe it's that gym membership you've been paying for months, but you've never set foot in the doors. That's something that you have accessible to you to use, start using. The next thing I want you to write down is I want you to think of one thing that you've always wanted to try, but you never have before. Is it rock climbing? Is it bowling? I know bowling isn't like a great workout, but it is something that will get you up and moving and at least taking a few steps around. Just skip the beer and wings at the bowling alley. That's all. Could be golf, could be, any kind of activity that you've always thought about doing, but never really bit the bullet and tried. I want you to pick then one thing that worked for you in the past that you've loved. So we have a question in the chat that I'll get to in a second, but one thing that you worked for you in the past that you loved, whether it was doing Zumba, whether it was running, something that worked for you in the past that you might want to revisit. And then one thing that you can do with a friend. So what's something that you can do with a friend? The reason I tell you to get a friend involved is that magic word accountability. Because if you make plans with a friend to go work out at a certain time, you're accountable to somebody beyond yourself and you're less likely to blow it off. All right, so we're thinking about those 5 things. So now you have 5 things that are ideas for you to pursue. And maybe you couldn't think of something for all 5, and that's okay, but even one thing gives you a good starting point. And we do have a question in the chat. Any recommendation for someone in a wheelchair with a paralyzed side who cannot kickbox anymore? I gotcha. So basically anything that you can do with the mobility that you have on the side that you have mobility. So it could be curls, it could be pulls, it could be using bands or using machines. Definitely it's something where consulting a physical therapist is going to be really your best bet, because they're going to give you a lot of really constructive ideas to get your body moving. But there are also gyms now that service people with who are in wheelchairs, who need handicap accessible machines, who have limited mobility. So there are gyms that do that particular type of training as well. So definitely there's something to add to your list, to make some phone calls, physical therapists, or accessible gyms to work with differently abled people. Okay, so let's talk about nutrition basics, because as I stressed, you cannot out-exercise a bad diet. And this is by far the #1 culprit when people complain that they can't lose weight. That is my #1 question when someone comes to me and says, hey, Amanda, I work out 3-4 days a week. I'm really consistent with my workouts, but the scale is not moving. And my first question is, what are your eating habits like? And that's where I get that kind of hedging, like, they're okay. And I know right offhand that that's not the case. So that is by far the #1 culprit when we're talking about, not being able to get to your goals, nutrition by far. Now, what works is different for everyone. And that's why we have 30 bazillion types of diets out there, is that you've got keto, you've got Atkins, you've got paleo, you've got intermittent fasting, you've got vegan, gluten-free, everything under the sun. You have so many because not one thing works for everybody. If there was one thing that worked for everybody, there would be one diet, we would all do it, and we would all look like superheroes, but that is not the case. So what works is different for everyone. We want to focus on small, long-term, maintainable changes. There's a reason why these crash diets have really short time limits on them, and it's because you cannot sustain that aggressive and eating style for too long before you either go nuts and cheat and eat everything in the house, or you get to the point where your metabolism shuts down on you because you are just not eating enough to sustain your body in a healthy way. So we want to make sure that we're focusing on small, long-term, maintainable changes. And here are the 4 beginner keys to any kind of nutrition modifications that we're making for the better. The first is food logging. The second is portion measurement. The third is reading nutrition labels. And the fourth is thinking about adding, not restricting, and making smart swaps. So, the first 3 are, I know a headache. I know nobody wants to log, nobody wants to portion measure, nobody wants to read labels. They aren't things you have to do forever. They're things that help you in the beginning stages when you're trying to get things under control. And then there's things that you can revisit later. So when you get to the point where you have a handle on how much 4 ounces of chicken looks like, or how much a half cup of pasta looks like, you don't have to measure anymore. You don't have to log anymore because you generally know how much you're eating. But then when your weight starts to creep up again, or if it starts to creep up again, that's something to go back to get things back under control, because sometimes you get scope creep, sometimes your portions get a little heavier without really realizing it. They are things you can revisit later, but in the beginning, when you're just trying to figure things out and get to your goals, they are super helpful. And I know that they are work, but that is how you get to success. And then the last one that I said about adding, a lot of people think about diets as being really restrictive, but I want you to think about adding foods or swapping out foods. So, instead of rice, use cauliflower rice. Think about adding vegetables to things instead of pasta. Think about adding avocado or adding new types of foods, trying jicama, trying different kinds of onions in recipes. I tried those little pearl onions in one recipe. I had to peel them all. I didn't like that part, but so I don't know if I would do that again. But get adventurous and think about trying new things, trying quinoa, trying ancient grains. We focus so much about what we can't have, and we forget that there are so many healthy foods that can be delicious that we can have when we're taking care of our body. So this is the resistance I get to measuring and logging. I don't want to do it, but this is how we would track the results. This is cause and effect. Many people just don't know how much they're eating if they're not tracking and logging. And you think about it, how can you know if you're eating too many or too few calories if you don't know how many you're eating in the first place? If you're just winging it and shooting from the hip, you're not going to know how much your body's actually getting. And it's going to be impossible to make any adjustments and get the results you want because you're just playing guesswork the whole time. You need to adjust based on the results or lack thereof. It has to be scientific. If you want to discover how your body reacts, you need to measure what you're putting into it. Again, nutrition is a science, and we need to treat it like that. So this is another question I get: how many calories per day? And this varies for everyone based on genetics, metabolism and age, activity level, body composition, and other health factors like thyroid disease, things that can impact your metabolism. A good starting point for most women is 1,300 to 1,500 calories. And I like to put a caveat with that, is that 1,300 is where I put women who are pretty much sedentary and not working out. That is like the bare basic level I put for most women to start to make sure that they are nourishing their body enough to begin any kind of activity or exercise program. Women who are already doing an activity exercise program, the 1,500 calories is usually where I put them. Of course, taller women, I would add more calories than that. This is just like my bare minimum that I would start people at. And I know for some people, this seems like a lot. This seems like a lot more than some of these deprivation diets that put you on barely 1,000 calories a day. This is where you need to be healthy, not the 1,000 calories a day. And I think the next point, one of the next points is never go below 1,200 calories. I'll return to that other bullet point in a second, but you never go below 1,200. That's kind of the danger zone where we start to get into basic metabolism conflict, where your body starts to shut down, where you start to actually retain fat instead of losing it because your body thinks it's starving. You never want to dip below that. And these diets that cause you to do so are just setting you up for a bad outcome. So you want to listen to your body and adapt as needed. If you're hungry, there's a reason why you're hungry. It's because your body is telling you you need to eat. Your body is not getting the calories or the nutrition it needs. So for example, you might eat a bunch of potato chips and put a bunch of calories in your body, but you don't feel full because you're not really nourishing yourself with the food that is actually going to fill you up. So if you're eating correctly and enough, you shouldn't have that hunger come up. And when it does, you should be addressing it by actually nourishing your body. People ignore hunger, and that is your body's survival signal to tell you that you need to eat. As you get more fit, you're going to need to add more calories. This is another one that people initially feel resistant to because it flies in the face of everything we've been told since we grew up, that if you are not losing weight, you need to cut your calories. What I find is that when women start to plateau, when they're, and I want to put a caveat to this, that when you're working out regularly, you're exercising regularly, you're eating healthy. And by eating healthy, I don't mean like 100% perfect the whole time. I mean about 80% perfect, 20% for fun. That is normal. That is, the policy that we go by at Girl Fight is the 80-20 plan. That's what I personally use to stay on track. When you have nutrition and workouts in alignment and you hit a plateau, that sticks around. Like a plateau for a few days is normal. Even a week is normal. If you're hitting an extended plateau of over a week where you're not seeing any results, but you're doing everything right, that's usually when we need to start adding calories rather than subtracting calories. If you think about it, you are changing your body into a high performance vehicle. You're adding muscle, you're slimming down, you're toning up. Your body is becoming a high performance machine. You're taking it from a hybrid car, which is very fuel efficient because it uses next to no calories, and you're turning it to a Formula One racer, of course you're going to go through more gas. Of course you're going to need more fuel. So you need to nourish your body the fitter you get. So now we're getting into the other 50% of lifestyle change, how to keep it going once you have it going. And then these are kind of two photos. One was from Ironman, which was when I was in the best shape of my life. I was also training for about 8 hours a day. So, take that with a grain of salt. Now, this one is from me this past month. And, I'm getting to a similar place as that first photo, but I'm doing it in a completely different way. And that I think is important to understand, is that you can train, you're not really, killing yourself. You can train that fits a busy lifestyle, that fits the fact that maybe you don't have all day long to train. Maybe you can't, spend time doing 4-hour long runs, on the weekends. You need to be able to make this work for your busy lifestyle. And so these two photos are two examples of the same person getting to essentially a similar or the same place by training totally differently each time, and also training at two different ages where my body is not, responding as readily as it once did. So let's talk about how to keep that ball rolling once we get it going. So does this sound like you? You're going gangbusters for 2 or 3 weeks, and then life happens. You get tired, you get bored. How do you stay motivated at that point? So here's some ways to stay motivated. You try new things. Like we talked about, there's no one magic solution. Things that used to work might not work anymore. If something is no longer working, you need to change it. Get an active hobby or an outdoor activity. The weather's getting warmer outside, so this might be a good opportunity to try biking or hiking, rock climbing, snowshoeing. We're kind of getting out of snowshoe season, but if it was wintry, absolutely. Start a new challenge or a program, try a new exercise plan, enter a weight loss challenge, those types of things. And add accountability. This is a big one. A lot of people can't stay motivated because they don't have enough internal accountability to keep them on track. So if that's the case, and you know that about yourself, find some external accountability. That could be your family kind of cheering you on and encouraging you to go to the gym on days when you feel like you want to blow it off. Could be friends or workout buddies, or it could even be hiring a trainer and a coach. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I can't do this myself and I need help. So that's why trainers or coaches exist, is to help you every step of the way when you're struggling. The other thing you can do is pay yourself to hit goals. And I'm talking about non-food rewards. I'm not saying if I go to the gym, I'm going to eat that sleeve of Oreos. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, maybe if you've been wanting some new running shoes, like, okay, you know what, if I hit all my runs this week, I'm going to go and I'm going to get my new running shoes. Or if I really want that little black dress, if I hit all my workouts this week and I eat healthy all month, I'm going to go and I'm going to buy it. Those are ways that you can kind of positively reward yourself in non-food ways to get you to kind of stay motivated to those goals. A key thing here is to address and identify any obstacles that can step into your path, because a lot of people falter when they have these obstacles pop up, but they don't plan for them. Nothing is going to be perfect. You're going to have hiccups. So don't become a victim of excuses. This is really important, because I think, working out is something that nobody would do unless they had to do it for one reason or another, to take care of their body, to feel stronger. We much rather be sitting on the couch eating Cheetos and watching Netflix. But you need to make sure that you're not using excuses to talk yourself out of doing it, because it's very easy to do. We could, I need to stay home because, my little one is cooking and I don't want him to leave, be home alone while the oven's on or something like that. And it's like, well, you could figure out solutions around that. I think a lot of people make a lot of excuses for reasons to blow off their workouts, when it just means they need to be a little more creative about the way they approach it. The other thing we need to do is start using the 5 whys. We're getting into our next exercise in a little bit. But I want you to think about going 5 layers deep. Ask yourself why 5 times. That's what I mean when I'm talking about the 5 whys. Because what essentially we want to do is get to the root cause. We don't want to address the symptoms. We want to actually address the root of the problem, because that's the only way we're actually going to fix it. So let's say I stopped working out. So ask yourself why. Because I don't have the time. Now think about how vague that is. How do we fix that? Do we make more time? So we ask why again. Because I have too much going on. I'm too busy. Ask why again. Because I feel guilty about saying no to people. Let's ask why again. Because I don't want to impose. Okay, well, why don't you want to impose? Because I'm afraid of asking for me time. Now, I want you to compare that first answer, the I don't have time, to because I'm afraid of asking for me time. So first of all, this is a very specific problem that we can solve much more easily than the I don't have time problem. The second thing I want you to consider is that let's say we went and addressed the first problem, I don't have time. And let's say we could just say, all right, we're going to carve out 20 more minutes for you a day to get in a quick workout. If the problem is really that you're afraid of asking for me time, where do you think that 20 minutes is going to go? It's going to go to somebody else because you don't know how to protect your time for you. So giving you more time isn't necessarily going to fix your problem. If you're afraid of asking for the me time, chances are you're going to donate that time to some other project or some other cause or some other person because you don't know how to set boundaries. So essentially, we need to change the boundary setting problem and give you the permission and the confidence to ask for you time rather than just giving you more time out of the day. Does that make sense so far? So let's pause here and let's be honest. Many of these concepts are not new, but why haven't you acted on them yet? Get your pen and your paper and just in your head, ask the 5 whys. And I want you to jot down the answer to each as you go one layer deeper. So why haven't you been successful long-term? I actually want you to write that down. I'll pause here, give you an opportunity to do that. All right, now we're going to ask why. So look at that answer you just wrote. Why? Write that down. All right, we're going to ask why again. You guys get the pattern here, right? And please continue to jump ahead if you've already written down, you're starting to go layers deep, continue to just ask why. The thing is, we're asking why 5 times. So ask why again. And as you each time you ask why to the question, the answer before, it should be getting more and more specific. All right. Here's our last why. So we should be at our final response. And if you're still writing, that's okay, keep writing. But that is the problem we need to overcome. Not the first one you wrote down, but the last one you wrote down. That is our root cause. That is the reason why you haven't gotten to your long-term success yet. That is what we need to take on headlong. So let's go over some other fitness truths. And I want to talk quickly because I know we're running low on time, but your journey will be different from everyone else's. Your rate of weight loss is going to be different. The activities you choose is going to be different. Your diet's going to be different. Everything's going to be different. Timing is going to be different. Mistakes will happen and are part of the process. Occasional cheating on your diet is okay, but avoid setting yourself up for failure by striving for perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. You're never going to be perfect. Accept that now. The most damaging thing you can do is to give up entirely. That's the worst thing you can do. Slipping up is fine. The giving up is where you're gonna make no progress. Acknowledge that's okay for you to ask for the time to take care of your health. You have to. It's like putting your oxygen mask on before you can help others. You need to take care of yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to be healthy enough to take care of others. You need a positive support system. And the two keys for successful long-term weight loss are consistency and patience. And now let me show you what that looks like. I know that this is not the answer anyone wants to hear, but it is the truth. Consistency and patience are going to beat out extreme hard work every single time because it's not sustainable. Now, here's what yo-yo dieting looks like. So yo-yo dieting, you start off, you're losing weight, you're on this aggressive cleanse, you lose a bunch of weight, and then you can't sustain the cleanse. So you go back to eating the way you were and you gain all the weight back and then some. And then you go on the next diet and it keeps yo-yo up, down, up, down. Basically, every time you gain the weight back, it's when you can't continue to be on the diet anymore. and you falter and you go back to your old way of eating. Now, this is with consistency and patience. And this is a dramatization, but it's kind of not. And I'll show you that in a second. Consistency and patience are going to get you long term. So if we look at this chart like it's over the course of a year, how much progress did the yo-yo dieter make? Not much of any. You know, they might have lost maybe 2 pounds over the course of the year. They went up and down in big swings, but ultimately, when we look year to year, what was their net success? The consistency and patience person, however, had a huge amount of success, but I also want you to notice something. That is not a straight line downwards. There are little bumps. There are little places where you had a cheat meal or you fell off the wagon for a week and then you got back on. That's what I'm talking about. This is true success. This is real success. And to prove that, here is my Fitbit data. That yes, this is my Fitbit data from October to last month. And look at it. It's the white line. It's not, the blue line is a trend line. But look at it. It is almost exactly, I'm going to see if I can go back to that previous one. That same type of trend where you're having bumps, you're having ups and downs. Things are not going in a straight line down like that trend line. There are bumps, there's ups, there's downs, there's cheat days. That's probably when I had some pizza right there. You know, like what I'm talking about is you can see right around the holidays, you see late December, there's Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year is the second one, you know? So this is what I'm talking about. It's a real life example of how this stuff works. It does work, but you have to be patient with yourself and you have to be consistent. There will be day-to-day fluctuations. It's about the long term. Now, this is the secret sauce. I'm going to let you in on the little secret that I've been kind of holding out on for the whole webinar, is that mindset is the secret sauce. This is how you get to that long-term success. You need to focus on what you do, not what you want. I'm going to read that again. You need to focus on what you do, not what you want. This is about actions versus results. Actions are within your control, results are not. Actions lead to results, though. And this is hard because we need to recondition your brain. We need to redefine what is success versus failure. Every day can be a success. We need to shake off slip-ups. We can shake off slip-ups much more easily with this approach. And it gives you the drive to push through tough times and stay on track towards your goals. So let me just give you an example here. You cannot will your body to lose 10 pounds. You can't sit here and close your eyes really hard and think about it really hard and say, okay, body, drop 10 pounds now. It doesn't work like that. So the results are not within your control. However, you can decide to work out 3 days a week. You can decide to eat healthy 7 days or 6 days a week. You can decide to get enough sleep each night. You can decide to drink 8 glasses of water a day. Those are the actions that are within your control. And when you measure those things and you base your success on doing those things, they will lead to results. But you can't focus on the results. Otherwise, you're going to set yourself up mentally for failure. If you focus on the actions, every single day can be a success for you. Did you work out today? Check. Did you eat 3 healthy meals and 2 healthy snacks a day? Check. Did you drink 8 glasses of water today? Check. Did you get 6 to 8 hours of sleep tonight? Check. Those are things that if you repeat them over and over and over again, you will get the results. But I want you to take that focus off of the results and put it on the actions. So another thing that is very important is to recover immediately from a slip. The damage does not come from a few days or a week off every now and then. The damage comes from consistent lapses in your fitness. Giving up isn't going to solve the problem. You need to try new things to keep you interested and motivated and get right back on track if you slip up. Not the next day or the next week, immediately. Don't keep making excuses because you're going to always find an excuse to put it off another day, another week, another month. There will always be an obstacle, an event, a reason to delay making progress. I want you to think about it as something that you can recover from immediately, no matter what. And hiccups are going to happen. You just have to work through them. Don't hope for perfection, plan for recovery. And again, it's all about mindset, mindset, mindset. So let's pause here and talk about mindset. And again, we're getting to the end. So if you're getting antsy, we're almost there. What was your big goal from earlier that you wrote down? Is that goal action-based or results-based? And if it's action-based, good for you, because that's not very common. Usually they are results-based, like about 10-pound weight loss, or, being able to lift 25 pounds overhead. I don't know, I'm making it up right now. But if it's results-based, this is where I want you to list 2 small daily actions you can take to bring you closer to that goal. So I'm going to pause here. So again, 2 small. I want it to be small because I want you to actually be able to say you can do it. 2 small daily actions you can bring that can bring you closer to that goal. Maybe it's hitting 5,000 steps a day. Maybe it's taking the stairs instead of the elevator at work. I'm just giving you ideas. There's more than enough examples here. The next thing is I want you to list 2 weekly or every few days actions. Maybe this is working out 3 days a week, working out, every other day. Maybe it's prepping meals weekly, doing a meal prep day where you get your healthy meals ready for the week. List 2 small weekly or every few day actions that you can take. There you go. Now I want you to look at your 2 small daily actions and your 2 weekly or every few day actions. You just created a plan for success. I guarantee if you start doing those things consistently, you're going to start to see the needle move on some progress. And it might seem like it's not enough. That little bits lead up to massive change over time. And again, actions repeated equal results. Start small and be consistent. You will notice changes over time. This is where patience comes in. It's one of the hardest things on the planet. And then after over time, you will add more actions naturally. I know that it seems like, okay, I'm going to start with 2 small things a day and then 2 other things a week. It's not really going to get there. The point is not to overwhelm you in the beginning. If you start to do little tiny things that feel like they're nothing to do, that feel like a minor inconvenience to you, at that point, you are going to start to add other things too. You're going to start to feel confident about the progress you're making. You're going to start to understand that doing these little things is actually making a difference. So why don't I add more stuff? You're going to see that success is addictive. And as you start to see the results of your actions, your motivation is going to rise and you're going to actively seek out new actions to help reach your goal. But for now, just start small and don't overwhelm yourself. If you're doubtful, this is why people get stuck in yo-yo mode. Again, you signed up for this webinar for a reason. I am telling you what I did. I'm telling you exactly what I did. I did not train for Ironman the same way I'm training right now, and yet I'm getting to the same place. It's because I am a busy person and I cannot work out for 2-3 hours a day. I work out for 30 minutes in the morning and then I try to hit 10,000 steps. That's what works for me. And I'm not saying that because I want you to like copy, paste, repeat what I'm doing. But what I'm saying is that you need to find what works for you. So to wrap up, I know it's been a little, we went a little long. I get very wordy and I go off on tangents. So I apologize for that. But we've already taken some steps towards your goal. So what are your next steps? Okay, so today we set SMART goals. So we wrote those down. You made your plan. Now you got to do it. You got to actually put it into practice. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction. That's one of my favorite quotes that I like. All right, so imperfect action beats imperfect action beats perfect inaction. So doing something, even if it's not perfect, is better than doing absolutely nothing. How to keep it going. So that's the other thing that we tackled, is how to keep it going. Be proactive about identifying your obstacles. Don't expect perfection is going to happen. Don't expect that everything's going to be flawless. There are going to be obstacles, so you need to brainstorm solutions to those. Establish a support system that's going to keep you on track even when it gets hard and you really don't want to stick with it. And again, accept that things won't be perfect. They're not going to be. There's always going to be holidays. There's always going to be events. There's always going to be reasons to put off your plan for another week. There's always going to be a way to get started next month or get started on Monday instead of today. Just do it. Don't be afraid to change your plan if it's not working. Finally, stay committed and be patient, and remember that small actions over time equal major results. Now consider this. We focus on long-term goals and get discouraged. Weight loss, fitting into clothes, body measurements, how we look in the mirror. These are things you can change in weeks or months. I want you to turn your focus onto short-term goals. How you feel, how you eat, how you exercise and take care of yourself, how you de-stress, how you sleep. These are things you can change today, immediately. And it goes back to that action-based mindset, not your results-based mindset. I want you to think about how you have the power to change how you feel now, not next month, not next year. You can start now and start to feel better by eating nourishing foods, by getting enough sleep, by exercising, getting your endorphins up, taking care of your body, how you find ways to cope with stress. Those are daily actions you can take care of right away today. And what the magical thing is as you start to repeat those over and over and over again, you are going to fit into clothes that you couldn't wear in a long time. You are going to see your changes in your body measurements. You are going to look better in the mirror. Those long-term goals will fall into alignment when you change your mindset. All right, so in a little bit, I will start taking questions. I know we have a couple in the chat that I'm going to get to, but if you want more info, check us out at girlfightfit.com for sure. Make sure that you know what we offer, what we're about. If you're interested, of course I gotta plug my business because I'm a businesswoman. Of course I gotta do it. We have a 21-day getting started program for new members. So if you're new, if you've never tried Girl Fight before, we have that program. We also are going to kick off a 12-week healthy lifestyle program, which is something that is very new to us. Our coach Sammy put together a great program that we're putting the finishing touches on. We're hoping to roll that out soon. And we are going to give priority access to that to our existing members and also anyone on this webinar today. So when that program is ready to roll out, we are going to give priority access because we can only take so many people because it does involve some personalized coaching. We can't take just about everybody all at once. We have to limit who has access to it. Also check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, or you can contact us at this email address as well. I also, before we get into the questions and answers, want to give you guys an exclusive offer for today's participants. I am going to be taking on the first 10 people who want me to personally coach them for 3 weeks in these success techniques. This is stuff that it's not for people who want me to tell them what to do, review their meal plan, their workout plan, etc. This is not what this is about. We have services at Girl Fight that will help you with your nutrition, that will help you with it. We have our personal progress program for all of our members at Girl Fight that can do this. This is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is if you want to learn the right tools to help yourself with these things for life, this is what I'm talking about for the coaching that I'm going to give. It's the concept of giving you a fish versus what I'm actually going to do is teach you how to fish. I'm going to teach you how to change your mindset so that things like diet and exercise become easy, so that when you do have a roadblock, you know exactly what you need to be doing to change it. And the most important thing is I'm going to make it personalized for you. I am not going to give you this cookie cutter program that's going to be the same copy paste thing that I give to every single person. This is something that is very personalized. That's why I'm personally coaching people one-on-one, because each person's program and plan and approach is going to be totally different. So after 3 weeks, you won't need me. That's the goal. That is the whole goal of this, is that after 3 weeks, this is not about, upselling you coaching after coaching after coaching. If I'm doing my job right, you're not going to need me after 3 weeks. You will always be able to analyze any issues yourself and hit them out of the park. And this results in true freedom and control over your destiny, over your health and your fitness, over any goals. If you want to run a 5K, if you want to compete in a powerlifting event, you're going to be able to tackle anything. You're going to know exactly how you need to do it. So stop hopscotching between programs. This is going to show you how you can make any program work. Anything you want to do, you'll be able to make it work. And stop wasting time and money getting nowhere. So the 3 weeks of coaching, and again, this is one-on-one with me. Everybody's coaching is going to be different, but it is going to be totally personalized, and you're going to be working specifically with me. is a special price for this webinar. Normally $3.99 is going to be $2.99. And you might be saying, hey, that is a lot of money, Amanda. And yeah, it is. Here's why. I'm going to be investing 100% of myself in your success. I want you to show up equally committed. I don't want you blowing off our coaching calls. I don't want you not doing the work. I need assurance that you're actually going to take this seriously if I'm going to take this seriously by working with you. And this is the stuff that you're going to learn nowhere else. The mindset stuff we talked about today is just scratching the surface of making these a deep, lasting change. And this is what makes the difference between success and failure. This is why you can hopscotch from gym to gym and you essentially get nowhere and you're spinning your wheels, because these deep changes haven't been made yet. I'm also going to back us the money back guarantee, where if you are not stoked to continue after our first coaching call, you tell me at the end of the call, I'm going to give you 100% of your money back. I'm doing this because this is not going to work unless you believe it will. And if you don't believe it will after the first call, I'm the one who's failed. Again, this is limited to the first 10 people. And I'm not saying that as a sales technique. This is not a tactic. This is literally, I only have so much free time and I can only take on 10 people and otherwise I'm at capacity. I run Girl Fight full time. I manage the gym. So that's why I limited that. So is it worth $2.99 to make these changes stick permanently? Maybe it's not, but if it is, I'm going to be following up with everybody after the webinar today. I'm going to send out the recording to people who have been asking, are you recording this? We decided we were not going to record it originally, but we decided to. So basically, we are going to have the recording available. We're going to send that out after the webinar to everybody who, maybe had to log off early or logged in late. But basically, yeah, so I will follow up in that email. If you are interested in that offer, I'll take the first 10 people. And if not, no big deal. Hopefully you got some useful information from this webinar today. You have your plan. You wrote it out as we went. It's up to you to do it. And we would love to help you every step of the way with that. All right, so now I'm going to take some questions in the chat. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat and I will go through and I will answer them. I'm going to stop screen sharing actually at this point. Okay, so let's see, what do we got? So I've got a question. Can I share your exact diet meal plan that you follow? What does that look like? So I will give you some recommendations, but I'm not going to share exactly what I do. And it's not because I'm trying to be shady or protective or sell anything. It's honestly because what works for me works for me. And if I could give you cookie cutter, write down on a piece of paper exactly what I do, and it might not work for you, because what I've put together for myself, I did exactly the things that I talked about today. And I gave you the blueprint to do it. I food logged, I measured my portions, I recorded how my body responded to that, and I adjusted accordingly. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but that's essentially what everybody has to do, and why I don't give just one diet and say everybody use it, because everybody's body is so different. If I gave you my plan, someone else's might not have success with it. So I don't want to give you the false impression that this one way of doing things is going to work. Now, what I will say is that some common things to keep in mind are, sticking to meals that try to balance all three of the components: proteins, fats, healthy carbs. I do not eat a meal without protein. I like to have several small meals throughout the day instead of one big meal or two or three big meals. Again, that's totally different and subjective. It depends on you, because I've worked with people where they have 3 meals a day and that's it, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they still get great results. I've worked with people who are very busy and have to do intermittent fasting, not necessarily because they want to, but because they're on their feet all day and just cannot find the time to work a meal in. So because of that, it's going to vary from person to person. And I've seen some people have great success doing lots of different things. I guess one of the things that I would like to challenge you with is think of the types of meals you enjoy and try to find ways to make them a little healthier. I mean, you can do, if you like spaghetti and meatballs, you could do turkey meatballs, spaghetti, squash, and marinara sauce. That's a great alternative where you can still have that craving for it satisfied, but not really have all the calories. I like to experiment with different ways of doing my favorite recipes. I recently did a fusion between tacos and stuffed peppers, where I, instead of doing like this traditional stuffed pepper filling with like the sausage and the rice, I just did like turkey with taco meat and some black beans, corn, salsa, cheese, and baked in a pepper instead. So you can get really, really specific with that. Okay, so let's see, what else do we have? All right. Oh, thank you everybody for all the messages. Yeah, and thank you guys so much. And those guys, you guys who are direct messaging me your info, I don't have a way to access this once the webinar ends. So if you are interested in the coach, I know I have a few people saying they want to do the coaching program. Reply to the email I'm going to send with the recording. I might not send it tonight. I might send it tomorrow morning. It just depends because the Zoom video takes some time to process and then I've got to upload it and that takes time too. I will send the email. So if you are interested, reply to the email because I can't export I don't think if it's possible there, I don't know how to do it. So, but anyway, okay. So I am gonna, are there any more questions for the chat? I know we went a little longer than I wanted to, but I hope that it wasn't too bad hanging in there for the rest of the webinar. Like I said, I go off on tangents. I'm a fitness nerd, so I just kind of start, once my mouth starts going, it doesn't stop. All right, so everybody, I hope you found some use out of this. It looks like everybody's got their questions answered. If you have follow-up questions, again, look for my email. It's going to come out soon. And if you don't want to wait for the email, if you're like, okay, I don't want to wait tomorrow morning, I want to get moving now, go ahead and email info@girlfightfit.com. So info@girlfightfit.com. That very important to remember the fit at the end. Do not mail girlfight.com because we won't get it. So girlfightfit.com. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming. Let me just check the new messages because I think we got a few more. Okay. All right. Just everybody thinking. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a great evening and we will talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.